They say every secret has a price, payable in shares of a life you once knew. Mine? It cost me my meticulously ordered world, shattered by a love that bloomed in the fluorescent glare of corporate ambition and whispered promises in stolen moments. Welcome to GoldbeStory. My name was Julia Everett, a name synonymous with predictability, until a man with eyes like a stormy sea and a voice like aged whiskey walked into my life and rewrote my destiny. Could a choice born of illicit glances and forbidden touches ever lead to anything but ruin? Or is the greatest risk in life to never take one at all? What would you do if temptation wore the face of your every desire? Before you answer, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and prepare to walk a mile in my anachronistic shoes. My existence in the heart of Manhattan's financial district had been a symphony of spreadsheets and market analyses, each day a perfect echo of the last. I was a creature of habit, a financial analyst cocooned in the prestigious, if somewhat sterile, embrace of a leading investment firm. Stability was my religion, the ticker tapes my scripture. Then Richard Vanderbilt, the new vice president, arrived, and the foundations of my carefully constructed temple began to tremble. He wasn't just a man, he was an event. Tall, with hair as dark as a moonless night and a presence that commanded attention without uttering a single word. He moved through our beige-carpeted halls like a panther in a petting zoo. The air crackled around him, a potent cocktail of raw power and an almost unnerving charisma. Colleagues, seasoned veterans of Wall Street's jaded games, openly gaped. Husbands were momentarily forgotten. Career ambitions took a sharp, scandalous detour in whispered conversations by the water cooler. "Good morning, Miss Everett," he'd said, his voice a low rumble that resonated deep within my chest during our first formal introduction. His eyes, the color of a turbulent ocean, held mine, and for a disorienting moment, I felt like I was the only person in that bustling office. There was an intensity there, a directness that was both thrilling and terrifying. "Good morning, Mr. Vanderbilt," I managed, my voice a little breathless, a betraying blush creeping up my neck. I, Julia Everett, who could dissect a hostile takeover bid without batting an eye, felt like a flustered schoolgirl. "How can I assist you?" "I'd like to discuss the new Kensington acquisition," he replied, a ghost of a smile playing on his lips. "Your preliminary analysis was insightful. I'd value your deeper perspective." His gaze never wavered, and in that instant, something shifted. It wasn't just a new VP, it was a new gravitational pull in my universe. Have you ever felt a connection so instantaneous, so inexplicably profound, that it throws your entire world off kilter? Our meetings became a fixture, a dangerous, addictive rhythm in my otherwise predictable cadence. We'd huddle over glowing screens, dissecting strategies, forecasting market trajectories, our minds in sync. Yet, beneath the veneer of professional collaboration, an unspoken dialogue unfurled. Each accidental brush of hands over a shared document, each lingering glance over the rim of a coffee cup, sent jolts of illicit electricity through me. I found myself dressing with more care, a subtle shift in my choice of perfume, a lingering application of lipstick, small, almost unconscious rituals performed for an audience of one. I learned the nuances of his expressions, the slight furrow in his brow when deep in thought, the almost imperceptible upturn of his lips when a complex strategy clicked into place, the way his eyes would darken when he was about to make a decisive point. He, in turn, seemed to see past my professional armor. He'd ask about the book I was reading, notice a new scarf, remember a casual comment I'd made weeks prior. It was an intimacy woven in the spaces between spreadsheets and quarterly reports, an invisible thread tightening with each passing day. The office, once a place of sterile ambition, became a stage for a silent, heart-pounding drama. Was this how it began? A slow, insidious erosion of boundaries, or a sudden cataclysmic collision of two souls recognizing each other in a crowded room? One particular evening, the city lights painting streaks across my office window, I stayed late, wrestling with a stubborn financial model. The building had emptied, the usual hum of activity replaced by a profound silence, amplifying the frantic thrumming of my own heart. Suddenly, a shadow fell across my doorway. Richard. "Julia, may I come in?" His voice, softer now, devoid of its daytime corporate edge, seemed to caress the quiet air. I noticed he used my first name, a subtle shift from the formal Miss Everett. My breath hitched. "Of course, Mr. Vanderbilt. Richard." The correction felt daring, a small step onto forbidden territory. He entered, the scent of his subtle, expensive cologne filling my small office, making the space feel suddenly intimate. He didn't sit in the guest chair, but leaned against the doorframe, an image of casual power that made my pulse quicken. "Still burning the midnight oil?" "Just a few more projections for the Peterson merger," I said, trying to sound nonchalant, as if my heart wasn't performing acrobatics. We talked, ostensibly about work, but the undercurrent was palpable, a living entity in the room. The words were about profit margins and risk assessment, but the air thrummed with unspoken questions, with the weight of what was building between us. His gaze was more intense than usual, a focused scrutiny that seemed to peel back layers I didn't even know I possessed. "You do exceptional work, Julia," he said, his voice a low murmur that sent shivers down my spine. "Your dedication hasn't gone unnoticed." "You're a rare find." "Thank you, Richard," I managed, my cheeks warming. "I just try to give my best." Our eyes met then, truly met, and the world seemed to fall away. It wasn't just admiration in his gaze, it was something deeper, something that mirrored the reckless, terrifying yearning in my own soul. A spark, not just of attraction, but of recognition. In that moment, I knew my meticulously planned life, my predictable stability, was over. This man, Richard Vanderbilt, had walked in, and with a few shared glances and late-night conversations, had detonated a bomb in the center of it. The debris was still settling, but I already sensed that the landscape of my future had been irrevocably altered. Greater challenges, I suspected, lay ahead, but a dangerous, exhilarating thought took root. Perhaps some challenges were worth embracing, especially if they meant standing closer to a fire that promised such intoxicating warmth. The weeks that followed were a blur of heightened senses and stolen moments. Our professional relationship deepened, but it was the personal connection, the one that vibrated just beneath the surface, that consumed my thoughts. I started noticing the almost imperceptible things, the way his dark hair fell across his forehead when he was concentrating, the subtle crinkles that appeared at the corners of his eyes when he genuinely smiled, the way he'd absent-mindedly tap his pen against his chin while listening intently. These tiny details became precious, hoarded like secret treasures. One crisp autumn evening, as the Manhattan skyline began to glitter with a million pinpricks of light, Richard found me packing up my briefcase. Most of our colleagues had already surrendered to the allure of after-work drinks or the commute home. "Julia," he began, his tone casual, yet with an underlying note that made my heart flutter. "I was thinking of taking a walk to clear my head." "The park isn't far. Care to join me?" It was unexpected, a deliberate step outside the confines of our office roles. A thrill, sharp and sweet, shot through me. "I'd like that, Richard," I replied, a smile tugging at my lips. We needed this escape from the charged atmosphere of spreadsheets and knowing glances. The cool evening air was a welcome embrace as we stepped out onto the bustling streets. He led the way, not towards the chaotic thoroughfares, but to a smaller, quieter park nearby, a hidden gem illuminated by the soft glow of old-fashioned streetlights. We strolled along a winding, leaf-strewn path, the city's roar softening to a distant hum. He spoke then, not of mergers or market fluctuations, but of his dreams, the things that ignited his spirit, the quiet philosophies that guided him. The spoke of a childhood spent poring over adventure novels, of a yearning for something more than just a prestigious title and a corner office. He revealed a vulnerability I hadn't expected, a depth that drew me in even further. "You know, Julia," he said, stopping beneath the amber glow of a lamppost, his gaze earnest and direct. "I've worked with many talented people, but I've never met anyone who seems to understand the underlying currents, the unspoken intentions, quite like you do. Your insights, your support. It's more than just professional. It's invaluable." My heart swelled. "Thank you, Richard," I whispered, the admission feeling momentous. "Working with you, it's become something truly special for me too." A comfortable, charged silence settled between us, filled with the unsaid. And then, as if orchestrated by fate, the night sky erupted. A cascade of fireworks, brilliant and unexpected, painted the darkness with fleeting strokes of crimson and gold. Someone, somewhere nearby, was celebrating. Richard's hand found mine, his fingers lacing through mine, warm and firm. The simple touch felt like an anchor in a suddenly dazzling world. "Want a closer look?" he murmured, his eyes reflecting the pyrotechnic display. I nodded, speechless, and we found ourselves running, laughing like children, towards an open clearing where the celestial ballet was in full, breathtaking view. It felt like a scene from a movie, impossibly romantic, a stolen moment of pure, unadulterated magic. As another volley of light showered down, Richard drew me closer, his arm gently encircling my waist. I could feel the steady rhythm of his heart against my back, a counterpoint to the thunderous explosions above. "Julia," he whispered, his voice barely audibles above the joyful chaos, his lips near my ear. The warmth of his breath sent a shiver down my spine. "You've become so much more to me than just a colleague, than just a brilliant analyst." He turned me slowly to face him, his hands framing my face, his eyes searching mine in the flickering light. "I can't pretend, not anymore. I'm falling in love with you." The world stopped. The fireworks, the distant city sounds, everything faded into a muted backdrop. His confession, so raw, so direct, hung in the air, beautiful and terrifying. But there was no denying the truth that resonated within my own chest, a truth I had been trying to suppress for weeks. I feel the same way, Richard," I breathed, the words a liberating exhalation, and then he kissed me, tenderly at first, then with a deepening passion that mirrored the vibrant explosions painting the sky. That kiss, under a canopy of artificial stars, was the true beginning, not just of a secret romance, but of a life I hadn't dared to imagine. We knew the path ahead would be fraught with risks. Office romances were cautionary tales, whispered in hushed tones. But in that moment, wrapped in his arms, the only caution I felt was the fear of not pursuing this extraordinary, undeniable connection. What is the greater folly? To risk everything for a chance at profound love, or to let fear dictate a life of quiet regret? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Our clandestine affair began, a delicate dance of secrecy and stolen moments. Every shared glance across a crowded conference room, every brief touch of hands under the guise of passing a file, every late night spent working on a project became imbued with a thrilling, dangerous significance. We were like spies in our own lives, masters of subterfuge, fluent in the language of coded emails and carefully orchestrated accidental encounters. The abandoned sixth-floor conference room, with its dusty table and views of a forgotten alleyway, became our sanctuary. Quiet, dimly lit cafes in obscure corners of the city hosted our whispered conversations. Even the rooftop of our office building, a place rarely visited, offered us a breathtaking panorama of Manhattan and a few precious minutes of solitude under the stars. But the tightrope we walked was strung high above a chasm of professional ruin and personal scandal. One misstep, one carelessly overheard word, and our carefully constructed world could come crashing down. The pressure was immense. One afternoon, our chief director, the notoriously stern Mr. Walters, walked in on Richard and me in Richard's office, heads close together over a financial projection that was, for once, genuinely the focus of our attention. Or so we hoped he'd believe. "Working late again, Vanderbilt? Everett?" His gaze, sharp and assessing, swept over us, lingering for a moment too long. I felt a cold dread snake down my spine. Richard, ever composed, didn't miss a beat. "Just finalizing the quarterly risk assessment, Mr. Walters. Julia's insights have been particularly crucial on this one." His voice was smooth as silk, betraying none of the tension that vibrated between us. Walters grunted, a sound that could mean anything from grudging acceptance to deep suspicion. "See me in my office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp, both of you. We need to discuss the new compliance protocols." He turned and left, leaving an unnerving silence in his wake. "That was too close," Richard breathed, running a hand through his dark hair once the door clicked shut. "We need to be more careful, much more careful. I don't want this to hurt you, Julia." I nodded, my heart still hammering against my ribs. The thought of our relationship being exposed, of the inevitable fallout, was a constant, gnawing anxiety. Yet paradoxically, the danger seemed to intensify our feelings, to make each stolen moment more precious. The stakes were impossibly high, but the thought of walking away from Richard, from the vibrant, exhilarating life he had awakened in me, was simply unbearable. The office, as offices often do, began to whisper. Sideways glances followed us. Conversations would abruptly cease when we approached. It was nothing concrete, just a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a collective intuition that something was afoot. Then Amanda Clark arrived. Young, fiercely ambitious, and undeniably attractive, she was a newly joined lawyer on our legal team, and she made an immediate impact. She was sharp, witty, and quickly garnered the attention of senior management, including Richard. I watched, a knot of unease tightening in my stomach, as Richard began to spend more time with Amanda. They'd have closed-door meetings, their voices a low murmur from his office. They'd laugh together at company socials. He assured me it was purely professional, that Amanda's legal expertise was vital for an upcoming international deal. "She's a valuable asset, Julia, nothing more," he'd say, his eyes sincere, his hand gently squeezing mine in a fleeting, reassuring gesture when no one was looking. "You have nothing to worry about. You are the only one I see, the only one I want." His words soothed the surface, but a deeper disquiet remained. Was this the price of a secret love? Constant vigilance, a creeping jealousy that gnawed at the edges of trust. How do you navigate the treacherous waters of a forbidden romance when new attractive players enter the game? Can trust truly flourish in the shadows? One evening the office was nearly deserted. I was at my desk trying to focus when I heard raised voices coming from Richard's office. His door was slightly ajar. It was Richard and Amanda, and their discussion sounded less like professional collaboration and more like a heated argument. Curiosity, an insidious companion in our secret world, got the better of me. I found myself inching closer, straining to hear. Suddenly, the door flew open and Amanda stormed out, her face a mask of fury, her eyes blazing. She stopped dead when she saw me, her expression shifting from anger to a chilling predatory focus. "You!" she hissed, her voice dripping with venom. I might have guessed. You're the reason he's been so distracted, so unavailable. Her eyes narrowed into slits. I know about you and Richard, and believe me, Miss Everett, I won't let your little office tryst ruin everything I've worked for, or everything he could lose. The blood drained from my face. This was it, the moment I had dreaded. Our secret was out, exposed to someone who clearly saw us not as lovers, but as obstacles. Richard emerged from his office then, his expression grim, his face pale. "Julia," he began, his voice strained, full of a helpless anxiety. The air crackled with impending disaster. Amanda held all the cards, and her eyes gleamed with the distinct possibility of playing them. Our carefully constructed world was teetering on the brink of collapse. "We need to talk to her," I whispered to Richard, my mind racing, desperately seeking a lifeline. "We have to try and reason with her." Richard nodded, his jaw tight. We approached Amanda, who stood by her desk, radiating an almost palpable animosity. "Amanda," Richard began, his voice calm, measured, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her eyes. "What happened in my office was a professional disagreement, nothing more. It has nothing to do with Julia." She let out a short, sharp laugh, devoid of humor. "Oh, please, Richard. Spare me the corporate platitudes. I'm a lawyer, remember? I'm trained to see what's right in front of me. And I see two people who are risking their careers and potentially the company's reputation for what? A fling?" "It's not a fling," I interjected, my voice stronger than I felt. "We love each other, Amanda. And we've been incredibly careful." "Careful?" She raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. "Careful is not having your affair exposed by an ambitious colleague who suddenly finds her own career path complicated by your unprofessional conduct." Her words were like daggers, each one finding its mark. The bitterness in her tone was undeniable. Was it just ambition, or was there something more? A flicker of unrequited interest in Richard, perhaps? The thought sent a fresh wave of unease through me. "What do you want, Amanda?" Richard asked, his voice low, cutting through the tension. "Want?" She tilted her head. "I want to ensure my career here isn't collateral damage. I want assurances, and perhaps," a sly, calculating look entered her eyes, "a little consideration for my discretion." The implication hung heavy in the air. This wasn't just about keeping a secret. It was about leverage. My heart sank. This was a new, dangerous dynamic. How far would she push? And how far would we be willing to go to protect what we had? Our fate, it seemed, rested in the hands of a woman whose motives were as opaque as the situation was perilous. "Do you think Amanda had a right to use her knowledge to her advantage? Or was she crossing an ethical line? Share your opinions, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next in GoldbeStory. The negotiation with Amanda was tense, a high-stakes poker game where the chips were our careers and our relationship. In the end, a fragile truce was brokered. Amanda agreed to keep our secret. Her price, a subtle but clear understanding that her career trajectory would not be impeded, and that Richard would ensure her projects received the visibility they deserved. It left a bitter taste in my mouth, a compromise born of necessity rather than trust. Yet, it bought us time. Paradoxically, the crisis, the shared threat, seemed to forge an even stronger bond between Richard and me. We were no longer just lovers. We were co-conspirators, allies in a battle against exposure. The stakes had been raised, and with it, a deeper level of commitment to one another. The clandestine meetings continued, but now they were tinged with a new layer of caution, a heightened awareness of the precariousness of our situation. Then came the weekend getaway. Richard, sensing the immense strain we were under, suggested it. "A small cottage by a lake upstate," he'd said, his eyes pleading for me to agree. No emails, no office politics, no Amanda. Just us. We need it, Julia. He was right. I eagerly agreed, a sense of relief washing over me. The cottage was idyllic, a postcard of rustic charm nestled by a shimmering expanse of water. For 2 glorious days, we were simply Julia and Richard, 2 people in love, the complexities of our Manhattan life a distant memory. We hiked through sun-dappled forests, hands intertwined. We cooked together, the small kitchen filled with laughter and the aroma of simple, delicious food. We sat on the porch swing, watching the sunset paint the lake in hues of orange and violet, sharing dreams and quiet confessions. That Saturday evening, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves, Richard built a crackling fire in the stone hearth. He turned to me, his expression serious, yet tender. "Julia," he began, taking a small velvet-covered box from his pocket. My heart leapt into my throat. This ordeal, Amanda, it's made me realize something with absolute clarity. He knelt before me, his eyes, those captivating stormy seas, filled with an emotion so profound it took my breath away. I don't want to hide anymore. I don't want to steal moments. I want a lifetime of moments with you, openly, proudly. He opened the box. Inside, an elegant sapphire necklace. The stone, the exact shade of his eyes, sparkled in the firelight. "This isn't a ring, not yet. That needs a different time, a different place. But this is a promise, Julia. A promise that my heart is yours, completely and irrevocably. A promise that I will find a way for us, a way for this to be real, for this to be everything." Tears welled, blurring the image of the beautiful gem, of the incredible man before me. "Oh, Richard," I choked out, my voice thick with emotion. It's beautiful." "And yes, my heart is yours too." He fastened the delicate chain around my neck, his fingers warm against my skin. The sapphire lay cool against my collarbone, a tangible symbol of his love, his promise. It was a magical, transformative moment, a beacon of hope in our complicated world. That weekend, away from the prying eyes and the oppressive secrets, our love felt not only possible but inevitable, a force too powerful to be denied. Returning to the city, to the office, was like stepping back into a pressure cooker. But something had shifted. The sapphire necklace, tucked discreetly beneath my blouse, was a constant reminder of Richard's commitment, of the future he envisioned for us. It gave me strength. We were more determined than ever to navigate the treacherous path ahead, to find a way to legitimize our love. A few months later, the landscape of our lives changed dramatically. Richard approached me one evening, his expression a mixture of excitement and trepidation. He'd been on edge for weeks, immersed in closed-door meetings and hushed phone calls. "Julia," he said, taking both my hands, his gaze intense, "I've been offered a position. A major project based in our London office. It's a significant step up, a chance to head the European expansion." My mind reeled. London. It was an incredible opportunity for him, a testament to his talent and ambition. but it was also thousands of miles away, a chasm of distance. It would mean I'd have to be there for at least a year, maybe longer, he continued, watching my reaction closely. But Julia, the thought of going without you, of putting what we have on hold or trying to sustain it across an ocean, I can't do it. He took a deep breath. There's a senior analyst position opening up on the London team. A role perfect for your skills. I've already discreetly inquired. If you wanted it, if you were willing to take that leap with me, we could go together. Start fresh. No secrets, no Amanda, no Mr. Walters scrutinizing our every move. My heart pounded. London, a new city, a new life, with Richard. An escape from the constant threat of exposure. A chance to build something real, something open. It was a monumental decision, a terrifying, exhilarating prospect, to leave behind everything I knew, my career path in New York, my friends, the life I had built, for him, for us. Was it reckless? Or was it the bravest, most honest decision I could possibly make? What factors would you weigh when facing such a life-altering choice for love? The decision, in the end, wasn't as difficult as I'd imagined. The thought of a life where our love didn't have to hide, where we could simply be. It was an irresistible siren song. Within weeks, it was settled. We tendered our resignations, weathering the initial shock and inevitable office gossip with a united front. Amanda Clark, to her credit, offered a cryptic, almost respectful nod when she heard the news. Mr. Walters was, predictably, gruff but professional. Our departure from New York was a whirlwind, selling my apartment, packing up a lifetime of belongings, saying emotional goodbyes. It was a period of intense upheaval, yet underscored by a thrilling sense of anticipation. The flight to London felt like a passage into a new dimension. As the plane broke through the clouds with Richard's hand held firmly in mine, I felt a profound sense of peace, of rightness. London embraced us. Our new apartment in Notting Hill, with its charming garden and sunlit rooms, felt a world away from the sterile confines of our Manhattan offices. Our roles at the London branch of the firm were challenging and fulfilling, and for the first time we could be openly colleagues, openly together. The relief was immense, like shedding a heavy, suffocating cloak. There were no more coded glances, no more whispered conversations in deserted corridors. We could have lunch together, walk home hand in hand, attend company events as a couple. It was the normal, everyday intimacy we had craved for so long. One blustery autumn evening, about 6 months into our new London life, Richard took me for a walk along the Thames. The city lights danced on the dark water. The air was crisp with the scent of fallen leaves. He stopped at a secluded spot overlooking the river, the iconic silhouette of Tower Bridge illuminated against the night sky. "Julia," he began, his voice thick with emotion, turning to face me. He reached into his coat pocket, and this time, the velvet box he produced was smaller, squarer. My breath caught in my throat. He knelt, there on the damp cobblestones, the city's ancient heart beating around us. "Julia Everett, my brilliant partner, my courageous love, you took the biggest leap of faith with me. You turned my world from black and white to the most vibrant color. I promised you a different time, a different place." His eyes, those incredible stormy seas, now shone with unshed tears. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down my face, tears of overwhelming joy, of relief, of a love that had weathered storms and crossed oceans. "Yes," I whispered, my voice trembling. "Yes, Richard, 1,000 times, yes." He slipped the diamond ring onto my finger, a perfect, sparkling symbol of our journey, of our future. He rose, and we embraced, a long, heartfelt kiss that sealed our promise under the watchful gaze of London's timeless landmarks. Our wedding was an intimate ceremony held in a historic countryside manor in the Cotswolds, surrounded by rolling hills and the warmth of our closest friends and family, those who had supported our unconventional journey. Caitlin, my dearest friend from New York, flew over to be my maid of honor, her joy for us unfeigned. As I walked down the aisle, seeing Richard waiting for me, his eyes glowing with a love that felt as vast and deep as the ocean, I knew every risk, every secret, every sacrifice had been worth it. We exchanged vows we had written ourselves, promises of enduring love, unwavering support, and a lifetime of shared adventures. "You are my heart, my soul, my life," he pledged, his voice resonant with sincerity. "You are my light, my joy, my everything," I returned, my own voice thick with happy tears. Years have passed since that day. Our life together has been a tapestry woven with threads of joy, challenges met side by side, and the quiet, profound comfort of a love that has not only endured, but deepened. We built a home, a family, a legacy born from a romance that started in the most unlikely, most forbidden of circumstances. The journey wasn't always easy. There were moments of doubt, of fear, of wondering if a love born in the shadows could truly thrive in the light. But it did. They say every secret has a price, perhaps, but sometimes the secret itself is a crucible, forging a bond so strong, so resilient, that it becomes the greatest treasure of all. Our story, once a whispered chapter in the GoldbeStory of corporate Manhattan, became a testament to the enduring power of a love that dared to defy convention. And in the end, isn't that what we all search for? A love that makes us brave, a love that makes us whole, a love that is unequivocally ours. What are your thoughts on workplace romances? Can they ever truly succeed without compromising professional integrity or personal happiness? Let us know in the comments below. And if our story resonated with you, please consider sharing it. And don't forget to subscribe for more tales of love, risk, and the complex landscape of the human heart from GoldbeStory.